Hey everybody, Brant here with Nutrition First Coaching. So this week I'm excited to say we got a question from Samantha Nelson. So Samantha, thank you for that. And keep the questions coming. Actually, Samantha had a multi-part question, so I'm going to answer part of it today and part of it next week because I'd like to go a little more in depth on the topics for them. And today, the question I wanted to answer was talking about how to add in strength training with your run training. So this is something that I feel really strongly about, and I write programming for people for this purpose specifically, not only runners but triathletes, because when you run, that is a stress to your body, of course, but it's not enough of an overload stress, or what we call the overload principle, to cause muscle to be built. So it's not enough of a stress response from the body to get what's called muscle protein synthesis, which your nutrition combines with that, and then you grow muscle. From that, we need overload versus just the specificity of running to get that muscle to be bigger and stronger. Strength equals more resilience, but it also equals more power, can equal more speed, and can equal more general output of the system. So to answer the question, if you should do strength training when you're running, it's yes, for sure, yes. How much and what we're going to get into is a little bit more challenging. So if you're a runner and you're asking yourself these questions, this is what you're going to go through to figure out what's the best strength training program for where you're at in your cycle of running. So the first one I want to talk about is, what's your goal or your target distance? Now, everything up to even ultras will require some strength training, but it also depends on the dose of the strength training, depending on your distance goal. So let's say your distance goal is a 5 or 10K. We consider those some shorter distances for running. And when you're doing those distances, I would advise you to treat your strength training as kind of a total body workout. You want to strengthen everything in your body. You want to use large compound movements like squatting, hinging, pressing, because you're trying to overall increase your strength, but also increase your athleticism with the strengthening program. Those distances are going to be pretty high intensity in terms of the output, because the time frame is a little bit shorter. So we need some muscle power output, and that's where in those shorter distances we're going to concentrate a little bit more on strength training, and that gets into the lower rep ranges, 3, 5, and 8 rep ranges for your actual working sets. So if you're in the longer distances, this is where you're going to go to maybe a couple days a week where you're doing a full body program. But now you're going to gear this more towards hypertrophy, because we're trying to kind of stave off that muscle breakdown, or what we call that catabolic effect of the muscle, because you don't see too many marathon runners that are real muscular. They're really typically pretty lean, and that's because they're on race day and they've leaned out for that race day. But through the season, if you can maintain muscle, that's going to help you preserve muscle going into that last block of training, into your taper, and then into your race. So now we're looking at a couple days a week. Our rep ranges are going to be a little higher, 10 to 15 reps per set, and we may have a little bit more in terms of the working sets. But one thing to always keep in mind with your strength training is it's not cardiovascular training in the effect of running, where you're getting this aerobic or even this anaerobic work. Think of it as trying to recover so that you can do well in the next set, so that you can kind of push the strength and push your muscle so you can get the most out of the strength training. Okay, sorry, that was a long one. So the next one, how much time per week? We kind of just answered that a little bit. The shorter distance, and depending on the distance, that's going to dictate. Shorter distance is maybe 3 to even 4 days a week of strength training. Longer distances, maybe 2 to 3 kind of max, but that really depends on where you're at in the season. So if you're in the like base building phase, which probably most everybody's in right now, you can do more strength training because your workouts aren't as intense and you're not going to take away from those more important workouts in your run training where you're working the lactate threshold and you're pushing VO2 max. So you can do more sessions. When you get closer to some of the build part of your season and then into some of the race phase, now you're going to back off and you're really just in maintenance mode as you get closer to race. And that's maybe 1 to 2 at the most times per week. And then you're also going to deload on some of the sets a little bit so that you don't kind of overspend your muscle or, push yourself towards that risk of injury. So the next thing to think about, now that we've got some of the basic principles out of the way, is, how are we going to plan out the week? So depending on what phase you're in, again, the biggest thing to think about is when you're putting in the lower body strengthening part of your strength training. And if you're doing a full body workout, it's pretty much every workout you're going to have some lower body in there. And then when you're doing those key running workouts of the week, those are your VO2 max and your lactate threshold workouts. And you don't want to do those. You don't want to do strength training, say on a Monday, and then the next morning you're going to get up and you're going to do one of these important VO2 max or LT workouts, because you're just not going to have the same output of the muscles. You're not going to get the same amount out of the workout. And when your goal is to support your running with some strength training, you don't want to take away from the running and the important workouts of the week. So I would suggest get those at least 36 to 48 hours away. If you did a tougher kind of LT or VO2 max workout that morning and you wanted to do strength training even after it or later in the day that involved the lower body, that would be a really good way to set it up as well. So try to give it yourself 36 to 48 hours in between, and that's how you can kind of work on how that week's going to flow and not take away from your run training. Okay, so how to execute a strength session. This could be a few videos on its own, but we're going to talk about a dynamic warm-up first. So think about getting the blood flowing into the muscles and the extremities. We want to get the nervous system going. We talked a little bit about this in the soft tissue video I did a few weeks ago. This is trying to get what parts of the body we're going to get working, moving, wake them up, get the nervous system connected. That goes from everything from a little light jogging to some muscle flossing to some band work, and then get into like a little bit more dynamic movement. Could be some bounding, some high leg kicks, some skipping, hopping, all those kind of things get into there. Then we're going to get into our warm-up set. So now we're actually into our workout part. Say that day we're doing some squatting, some step-ups, and then we're doing some upper body pressing and some accessory work with that. So we want to do some light squats, maybe just the bar, maybe just body weight to start with. Higher reps, 10 to 15, add a little weight, do less reps, 8 to 10, add a little weight, and then maybe you're into like 4 to 5 reps, and then you're ready to go into your working sets. So when you get into your working sets, this is when I specifically design a program for somebody, I'll say 3 sets of 10 for back squats. And that's only the working set. So you may have done 2 or 3 different things for your dynamic warm-up. You did 2 or 3 sets building to your actual working sets. And now you're just gonna do 3 sets of 10 for your actual working sets. And this is where we're gonna push it. This is where if you're thinking on an RPE, so kind of your perceived exertion, you're at an 8 out of 10 kind of thing, maybe a 9 out of 10. It's not mechanical failure. You're not, unable to get the last couple reps or dumping the weight, but you're pushing it pretty hard in those sets because that's where the changes happen. Just like in running, when you're really uncomfortable, you're breathing really hard, you have limited time in that segment, that's where all the good changes in that stress adaptation cycle starts and can kind of roll out from there. So when you're actually performing your sets and your workout, I like to give people 2 options. And keep in mind, we're not doing this as an aerobic training, but you could do it circuit style. So that's where you might have 5 exercises. You're gonna do a set of back squats, then Within 30 seconds, you're going right into a set of step-ups. And then from there, within 30 seconds or so, you're going into some shoulder press. And then from there, you're going straight into some rowing exercises. So you're gonna move through them in that circuit. Then you're gonna come back around to the first one. You're gonna hit that working set again. And you might go through them 3 times to get your 3 working sets in there. The other one is more of a superset style, where you're gonna look at either an upper lower kind of movement, or you're gonna look at a push-pull kind of movement to really oversimplify it. So maybe you do a set of back squats and then you go right into a set of push press with the shoulders, or you do a set of bent over rows and then you go right into a set of deadlifts. So you're doing kind of 2 separate or completely opposing muscle groups, and you're kind of supersetting them together like that with a little rest in between each superset. I always like to have everybody do the more significant work up front. These are your compound movements: squatting, hinging, pressing, pulling, and then you're gonna go into some accessory work. The accessory work is gonna be kind of single joint stuff. So this could be bicep curls, tricep extension, lateral flies for the shoulders. It could be some calf raises. It could be some quad extensions, hamstring curls, things like that, where we're isolating a single joint or a single group of muscles a little bit more. And these are important. They're not just for show, even though, you want some curls and you want the chest to look good for, taking your shirt off in the summer, but they're important in the fact that they support all the compound lifts. And they give you that little bit more specific muscle work versus the compound lifts too. So I know this is a huge thing to gloss over relatively quickly, but if you have more questions about this kind of stuff, give me a call, shoot me an email, text, DM me through Facebook or Instagram, and I can give you some more specifics about it. If you're more interested in program design, I can help you out with that too. That can kind of seamlessly fit in with everything you're doing with your training, whether it's running, triathlon, swimming, you name it, anything like that. We can add strength training to it to really keep you injury free, but also progress you and support all your training, if not make it significantly better too. So I look forward to talking to you again next week, and we'll answer some more questions from Samantha. But I hope you guys got a little value out of this. Give me some more questions, and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep this going. All right, take care.